Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I know I said I wasn't gonna make a video, but last night as I was laying down, because y'all know I'm doing a lot of laying down and resting because we are off of work, it came to me that I wanted to make a video primarily talking about tips that can help you pass your LCSW exam. Those of you who are struggling to pass your test, those of you all who want your license, but it's still kind of hard to pass that test, I just wanted to share my experience and some tips to help you along the way to pass your test. So last night as I was laying down, I got my phone out and I took a bunch of notes in my phone. They aren't in any particular order. So, they aren't in any order. I just started to remember when I took my test, things that have helped me pass my exam. Okay. Now, I did not take this exam one time and pass. I did not. I took this test more than 2 times, more than 3 times. Okay. I'm just being honest. I did not pass that exam on my first try, but as I was going through the process of taking that test and studying for that test, it's some things that stuck out to me that I remember to help me pass that test when I did finally pass the test, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So it's just like, why not share them? Because even if it just helps one person, like, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. So I'm just going to share the tips that work for me, okay, to pass my exam when I did pass it, okay? So I am going to be looking at my phone sometimes. If you see me looking down, it's because I took a bunch of notes last night because I didn't want to forget anything, okay? So the first thing I would say is you need to figure out like your why. Why you want your LCSW, why you want that title or those letters behind your name. Do you want it just to say that you got it, which is not a good thing? Or do you want it to either advance in your career? Is it because you have a passion for just the clinical field of social work? Do you want to pass it because it has just been a desire on your heart so you can better help people with, different diagnosis, substance abuse, just anything around the clinical field of social work. So I would say you need to first figure out like your why you want to take the exam, why you want to pass it, why you want your license. So you need to be sure of like your why. And I think your why is going to be your motivator for studying for the exam and for passing the exam. That's what's going to be your motivator, honestly. The next thing that I have on my list is you need to figure out what study material you're going to use. It's a whole lot of study material out there. I'm not going to lie. When I first started studying for my LCSW exam, yeah, I was getting my clinical hours at the same time, but you want to be conscious of the study material that you're using, okay? You don't want to like overload yourself with a bunch of study material. You don't want to be getting all these books, all these handouts, all these PDF files, because that's what I did in the beginning. Like, it's so much study material out there. It's so many online study materials. It's so many groups. It's so much study material out there, you guys, till you're going to get overwhelmed. Okay. So I would say first pick out a good study guide or study program, study material to start with. Okay. Like your colleagues or people you graduated, they're going to be like sending you all of this stuff. Or if you call them for advice, they're going to be like, just giving you a lot of material. And a lot of that material, I'm going to be honest with you, like, I didn't even use half of it. When I finally passed, half of that stuff that I used to study for my exam, I didn't even use it. Like, When I think about it, I didn't use that stuff. I didn't. And I had all these books and material, and it was just useless. So I would say make sure you have a good study program. The study program that I use that I'm always going to rave about is TDC, therapistdevelopmentcenter.com. Like, that's what I use. That's what helped me to pass. So yeah, I'm going to always recommend TDC because it's like it has in that program, it's expensive. I'm not going to lie. It's expensive. But I will say it has everything in one. You know what I mean? Like, it has all of the material, practice questions, section by section. Like, it's all bundled in one. And for me, I'm like an audio visual learner. Like, I can't just sit there and read material. I don't absorb it like that. So for me, I am an audio visual learner. So because it had like reader material on it, but it also had like audio to where you can listen to her talk about the material that you're studying. You know what I mean? Like, it was just easier for me to absorb TDC versus all of that other stuff that I had, to be honest. Just be honest. So yeah, and then you need to make sure that you're figuring out your study times. Like, if you're going to study, especially if you have a career, if you have a job, you need to cut out time, set time out aside to where you're going to be studying for the exam, okay? If you have a job, like me, I studied like on my lunch breaks. I studied when I got off work. I studied on the weekends. I missed out on fun. When somebody used to ask me to go out, I used to have to tell them no because I'm studying. I missed out on quite a bit, but I also knew how to have balance when it came to studying for this exam, because I'm not going to lie, like, that test, you guys, anybody who's already even taken it, like, that test ain't no joke. Like, that test will literally take you out. Like, I don't care what nobody say, like, that test ain't no joke. So set time aside to study, but also create some type of balance in your life to where studying just isn't taking over your free time. Still have your hobbies, still do self-care, because y'all know I'm always raving about self-care. I'm going to always rave about self-care. Make sure you're taking care of yourself doing this process of studying for the test at the same time. That's all I'm saying. But make sure you study, okay? And study to where you're comprehending and taking in the information. Don't be sitting there studying for like hours on end and you not even remembering what you're studying because you don't study for all these hours. So make sure that when you do study the right way. Study to where you're absorbing and taking in the information and remembering what you're studying, and then take a break and come back to it. Okay? That's another point that I can make. You know what you can take in mentally. You know your mind better than anybody else. So just make sure that you're remembering to, take the right time that you need to absorb the information and remember and comprehend what you're studying at the same time. Okay? The test is mainly like scenarios. Like, yeah, you're going to have some medication, some diagnosing, some suicide assessment, but the test is mainly scenario based. In my opinion, it's 170 questions. You got 4 hours to take this test. The questions that I had were mainly scenario based. Like, what would you do first? What would you do next? What is the best response? What is the most thing that social workers should do? So it's mainly like first, next, best, and most questions, and scenario-based questions. Like I said, it is a little bit of medication, diagnosing, suicide assessment, stuff like that, but it's mainly scenario-based. So as you all can remember, in school, it's always safety first. It's always safety first. If you get a question where it's talking about the safety of a client, or the safety of a child, or the safety of maybe, let's just say, a lady in a domestic violence situation, it's always going to be safety first, okay? And medical is big too. So safety first, medical first. Remember that too. So first, next, best, and most, and then safety first. That's what I will say. And then another thing I'm going to tell y'all is eliminate the first two answers in the multiple choice that you know don't make no sense when answering this question. Make sure you eliminate two answers that you know are not the right answer. So that way you have two choices left to pick from. Okay? And then you use your rational mind, you use your social work skills, and you pick the best answer out of those two questions. I'm sorry, y'all. Out of the two answers that are best choice, okay? So yeah, that's another thing I want to say. And then some topics that I also wrote down that are going to come up on the exam. I have them right here in my phone. Remember, like, countertransference and transference, boundaries, defense mechanism, being culturally competent, informed consent, being subpoenaed by the courts, know your role as a social worker in that question, whether you're a school social worker, foster care social worker. Make sure you know your role in that question too when answering that question. Know what type of setting you're in, whether you're in a school setting or a hospital setting. Make sure you remember your role in that social worker too, because that's going to help you pick the best answer too, okay? And then another thing I have on here is self-determination, which you need to remember too. It's always client-centered. You don't make the decision for the client at the end of the day, okay? Yeah, we want what's best for our clients, but they need to make the final decision themselves, okay? So it's always client-centered, self-determination. Leave it up to them. You guide them, you process things with them, but it's always going to be up to the client. So remember that too when it comes to taking this test. You don't make the decisions for the client. You don't. That's never the case. It's always client based, okay? It's what they want for themselves. And I'm laughing because I'm quite sure while I was taking that test a couple of times, that's probably what tripped me up. I'm thinking what's best for the client. No, baby. you don't answer that. You give them some choices when it comes to assessment and planning and intervening. You help them, but you don't make that final decision for them. Okay, I don't care how you feel, what's best for them, whatever the case may be. Let them make the decision for themselves, okay? Remember that during the test too, okay? If you need to mark some questions and come back to it, then that's what you do during the test too, because I remember when I took the test, I don't know if the test has changed since I've taken it, because it's been some years. But I know during the test, you got to mark questions while you were taking it. So if you needed to go back to it, you can go back to it to answer it before you submit your final test. Okay, so mark questions too. And another thing, if you need to take a break during this test, take a break. Okay, if you need to get accommodations for this test, get accommodations, which means that go see your physician, tell them about whatever's going on with you, and you're going to have to submit paperwork to the ASWB telling them that you need accommodation. Of course, it's like this form that your physician has to sign, but you can get extra time on this test because I did it. Okay, I'm just being vulnerable with you all. I'm being real. This test, no lie, even though it's been years since I've taken it, that test gave me so much anxiety. Like when I tell y'all my anxiety was bad, my anxiety was through the roof because it's like, it's a board exam. It's a test or a title that can literally change the trajectory of your career. Like, yeah, it's a test, but your license holds weight in this world. I don't care what nobody say. Like that license holds weight in corporate America, or even with you opening your own practice, if that's something you want to do. Like that title holds weight. So I think because of just knowing that, of the advancement that I can get in my career when I pass this test, it just gave me anxiety. Like it gave me so much anxiety. Like I'm not even gonna lie. So what I had to do was I had to print out the form. I think I got it from the ASWB website. I think I had to print out an accommodation form. I had to take it to my daughter and he had to sign it because I had to tell him about my anxiety with this test. Like that test, I don't know what it was about that test. That's why I'm surprised I'm even talking to you all right now about this test and giving you all tips, because when I tell you all that test is no joke and it gave me real bad anxiety, but I'm glad that I got accommodations for that test. Because they gave me extra time. I think I got like an extra, so the test was already like 4 hours, I think. I think they gave me like an extra hour and a half. I can't remember. I think it was just like an extra hour. I know for sure it was an extra hour, I think. But that extra hour helped me because I didn't feel rushed. And I got to take breaks because I needed a breather. Like, like when I would take my breaks, because we could have brung like snacks and stuff in there, like to put in our lockers and stuff. So when I would take my break, I would go eat some of my banana. So that's what I did on my break. And then I went in the bathroom. I prayed a lot during this test. I had to breathe. I had to literally calm myself because the test, it just weighs so much. So I think because it weighs so much in this world and it can literally like change your life by having those 4 letters behind your name, it just gave me a level of anxiety that I could not control on my own. So I had to do a lot of praying. I had to get that accommodations. I had to get extra time for my test. So yeah, if you need accommodations and you need that extra hour, get it. Get it. Because it seemed like those 4 hours wasn't enough for me, baby. And think about it. You're sitting there answering 170 questions for 4 hours. Like that job ain't no joke. That's all I'm going to say. It's no joke. That's all I'm going to say. And another thing I want to tell y'all is if you need to take the ASWB online practice test, because they do have an online practice test. I think that practice test was like $85, if I can remember. I think I paid $85 for the ASWB practice online test, which is 170. It's like the real test. It times you. It times you. And it's like you're taking the real test. So even if you need to take that online practice test before you sit down for the actual test, do that. I did it and it helped me out a lot. It helped me to remain a little bit calmer because I knew what to look for when I actually got in the testing site to take my actual exam on that day. So if you need to take the online practice test, take it. That's what I'm going to say too. So the last thing I want to say is give yourself grace when it comes to this test. If you don't need to tell nobody you're taking the test to take pressure off of yourself, don't tell nobody. For me, I only told my mama. Okay, I only told my mom. I didn't tell nobody at the job. I did not tell anybody because it took less pressure off of me. Okay. So yeah, give yourself grace when you're taking this test. Don't be so hard on yourself if you don't pass on the first try. Because like I said, I didn't pass on the first try or the second try. Okay. So give yourself grace when it comes to this test. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. I know this, I've been there with this test. So that's how I can testify when it comes to this test. Make sure you have a good support system. Make sure you are talking to God. I don't care how much you got to ask him to help you during this test. You gonna need it. You gonna need it. You can't do it in your own strength when it comes to this test. And I'm just being honest. I don't care what you try to do, what you try to take, who try to give you advice. No, none of that. Like, he is literally the only person that is going to get the glory or that has gotten the glory of me passing the test. Like, baby. Because when I try to do it on my own, it ain't work. That's just what I'm going to say. When I try to do it in my own strength and might, and I tried to do all this stuff and taking all this information and consume all of this stuff, it just didn't work for me. So as soon as I gave it to God and released it and surrendered it, I passed. You know, I used all the tools and the skills that he had provided me and given me and shown me and stuff like that. I used all of that combined in combination with putting him first, and that's when I passed the test. I mean, I'm just being honest. I can't put it no other way. Like, so yeah. Just wanted to come on here and share those tips with you all when it comes to taking this LCSW exam. Even if you got to get a tutor like TDC, they have like tutors that you can get. Of course, you're going to have to pay for the tutor, but the tutor is what helped me too. So like I said, all of the tools and skills and resources God provided me is what helped me pass this test. Okay. So yeah, just wanted to come on here and make a video to provide you all with some tips. If you're struggling with this exam, don't feel bad. You're not alone. I've been there. I know what it's like to sit down for a 4-hour test straight. Because even when you take those breaks, baby, the timer does not stop. That timer that's on the test, that's on the top of the screen, even when you take your breaks, you can't pause it. Like the timer is still going. So I get it. I've been there. Okay. Be kind to yourself. It's okay. You're not alone. Okay. So I really hope this video has helped somebody when it comes to taking this exam. And so, yeah. And if you're not a part of my community, please consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll catch you all in the next one.